Are you waking up already overwhelmed, letting your stress, bills, notifications, or even the news control your mindset before you've even had a chance to breathe? Does your day start with scrolling through social media or worrying about that never ending to do list? What if I told you there's a way to take back control, starting from the moment you open your eyes so you can create a life that's aligned with who you are and where you want to go? In this episode, Dave and I are going to be breaking down the exact tool we used to reclaim our life, set goals that are in alignment, and build a life that truly fuels us from the inside out. Let's dive in.
All right, that was an awesome way to start.
Hey, Dave, what's up? You know what? Check it out. I am in a sweatshirt today.
Check it out. I
And
am in
you're
sunglasses
in
today.
sunglasses. And this always signifies to me like it's early fall, where you don't know if you like have the air conditioning on or the heater on. You're kind of like toggling back and forth for the next 2 months.
Today, the glasses for me, they represent a bunch of pent up hostility toward technology. So I'll take them off in a minute as we get the flow in. But I've got to say,
Dave's not only has some sunglass issues, but his phone has decided to not be on airplane mode for whatever reason.
no, it's an Amber Alert. I've received an Amber.
Nice. Oh, not so good. Not so good.
Everything's turned off. I'm like, how could that be? But I should probably look at it.
So, how is training? We always kick off how training is going. And first of all, if you're just tuning in, Dave and I have been training for this 50K, our first 50K trail run together. And yeah, how was the trail run this weekend?
So we did 4 hours in an incredible place in the mountains. The Around the Mountain Trail, Bogus Basin up above Boise. And it looks out on one side over the Salmon River Valley, and then the other side it looks out toward like the Snake River Plain in Oregon and all of that. Smoke was not too bad. It was just I had a couple of runs earlier in the week, and I did some back to back. Like before our long run, I did a medium sort of run, and my legs were just like lead. So a lot like the technology that we have going on today that's been frustrating me. It was frustrating, but in a beautiful way. So, sometimes you have to take what you get, even if you're putting out all the effort, everything that's incredible. It doesn't always go your direction, and that's
I'm gonna say, that was the same thing for me. So this week we have had every other day, it's been like a smoke day. We have huge fires going on right now in Idaho, and we are surrounded by fires on both sides of the valley, massive fires. One is over 100 and I don't know, 10,000 acres, and the other ones are in that 2 to 5,000 acres. And it's massive smoke has just been huddling and snagging in our valley. So it's been incredibly hard to train. But this last week, because of a smoke day, I got so excited about my new treadmill trainer that I jumped on and threw, you know what? I'm going to do the hardest workout that I can find on iFit and throw on 90 minutes, which I was like, okay, this is too bad. And now I understand why they have those big handles that you hang on to because the incline was so steep.
going hard the
I
first
was like,
time on a
yeah,
new piece of equipment.
you could
What could go wrong?
what could go wrong? And so I'm feeling good about it. I get done and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm feeling really good. Like I knocked out 90 minutes. I mean, I was going to run outside, but it was just like 200 plus air quality. It was absolutely like horrible. We were in the purple zone. And about 2 hours later, I started getting some major calf cramps, like not calf cramps. Later that day, I ended up having a massage that was scheduled, thinking that would help. And it did a little bit, but then as it settled in, the cramps just got worse. So on Friday, I tackled a shorter run to see how I would do, and then it was increasingly getting worse. And Saturday, Dave, when we went up to the mountains to do that 4 hours, my calves were so cramped, so tight. I don't even know how I run. And I think to myself, was it a good decision? Probably not. But I'm like, the rest of me works. I just have to like work through these horrible cramps. It was like having these excruciating knots ripped in the back of both of my calves. And I believe that starting on anything new and underneath your feet, probably start a little bit slower. I jumped on it with our old treadmill. We had a true form runner and it had the rubber curved treadmill. What do you call it? Tread. I don't know. And so I didn't even think anything of it. I've always, just jumped on and did, 90 minutes, 2 hours or whatever. So, but with this new one, it doesn't have that at all. So I'm gonna have to work myself into the whole, Nordic track flex. I don't know. So it was really hard to do that run, on Saturday, and but
It was like giving birth to a run,
it
right?
was so
Like,
hard
you just gotta
because
push.
we knew that we were gonna have this 4-hour thing, and when we got to the backside after the first maybe hour and a half or hour 45, we could start smelling the smoke that was coming into the valley, and we looked out, and it was like almost like the fire was right there. It felt like the campfire was right there. You kinda smelled that wet earth that was burnt, you could just smell that, and, boy, it just affected me all the way around the other backside and then back up, and then we used our car as an aid station, refueled, and then went back up to the top of the next summit, which I think was the top of, maybe 7,500 up there?
So something like that. I remember crawling for a long ways, so it was up there.
It was crazy. So, anyway, the reason that we're sharing that with you is because that actual training run had to help us make some decisions this week. And Dave and I sat down yesterday to say, okay, let's look at our 50K plan. Is this the right thing for us? If you've been following my journey, I have had a heck of a year with the first trail run of the trail race of the season in April, and then Grand Canyon, and it's just been like this domino effect on my body. And so Dave and I decided, like, hey, if we're not going to do 50K, maybe this month, let's do it next month on a different course. So we changed our race schedule to do a road half marathon. And then the next weekend, we are doing a 27K on the trails. And I think that that is going to be what we can do.
Wait, you missed something. So there is another 50K
And there's a 50K that
that we
we
signed
for
up
for
for.
next month. Yeah.
Right, which is up in a place called McCall, Idaho, which is up in the mountains, and it's gonna be the end of October.
Yeah. What's the park called that it's held at?
It's Ponderosa?
Ponderosa State Park, I think.
Ponderosa State Park. So it's a loop, one of those things, but you've got the lake on both sides, and, it's beautiful that time of year. It's fall, so it could be sunny and warm, it could be crisp and cool, or there could be a foot of snow because that's the way it goes, but the mountains are getting snow this weekend, and where are we today? We're, like, September.
I think the important decision is we really, and I think for anyone listening to this, listening to your body and where you're at and not pushing yourself or even changing your distance on a race. My ego really wanted to do the 50K. I really wanted to do the 50K. It's very technical, and I could see us out and back. We have not had crew support with family or friends. No one, his schedule has really aligned with us, so we were already stressing about not having crew to help us. So I think changing this is just is really good decision. And then still being able to get a 50K in, but on a different race with a little milder course. It's still gonna be challenging for the day, of course, but it's not as technical as what we were going to run.
It'll be a half a piece of cake,
Yeah.
right? Not the full piece of cake.
So
And I'm looking forward to whatever it is, and probably, kudos to you for actually making a decision on your health and where you're at as opposed to your ego. We all get caught up in that, and we were just like, "We're just gonna do it," right? Like, everything this year has been, "I'm just gonna do it," because I decided I was going to start being a distance runner 6 months ago. No, it was a little longer than that. It was around January 1st, though, and so I'm like, "Nope, I'm just gonna see what it brings, and I'm gonna manifest myself to be an incredible runner this year, or at least n not a horrible runner," right? So, yeah, I am pushing through mediocrity one step at a time and enjoying the journey.
yeah, no, thank you. I think making a good decision for your health is the best way to go when you are looking at the stress of the races and leading up to it, everything you need to do. So we're still have 2 races now, this month, which is great to position ourselves with the whole community of the races, and then, also be able to travel to a race, in a different mountain range is gonna be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Hey, and I'm calmed down now, I can sort of take off my
Okay, Dave's
my
calmed down.
glasses. Serenity now.
So we always talk about our training to share our journey with you. If you're an adventure athlete out there listening to us, we always want to kind of share what we're doing as well for our next upcoming adventures and thinking about our 2025 races and beyond. The other thing we've been sharing though in these last episodes is Dave and I are going through a very high level AI mastery class with Mindvalley, and they're bringing some top notch, really 1% of, they say, humanity is learning what they're bringing in from the founders inside, how to really be an expert at AI. And every week we want to share what we learned last week. So last week we learned why and how to use custom GPTs. Maybe you want to share just a little bit about that and what a custom GPT is.
Right. So it's basically, in the beginning, when we'd go into something like Chat GPT, you had to sort of explain to it what was going on and the context of whatever the output was. And programming a custom GPT allows you to pre-do that, right? So let's take our business, one of our businesses, for example, the business plan, the mission, the buyer persona, the voice, like all of those documents can be uploaded. And then it references that in every single
Conversation.
conversation about that topic. So you end up with these highly granular topical pieces of interaction with GPT, and the output is just extraordinary. It's so much better. So
And to simplify what David's saying, the reason why you might think about using a custom GPT is anything that you're doing that's repetitive, that you don't want to continue telling GPT, you can have that custom GPT. For instance, let's say you are doing something that's repetitive, like a client copy or a request that's a repetitive task. Create a custom GPT for that repetitive task. That's why to use it. You get a better result. You get exactly what you want or closer to it, and you don't have to go through the frustrations of continually having the conversation with the standard GPT. So creating custom GPTs is incredibly effective, and then using them and choosing to use them by a click of a button, because once you have it set up, you just go to your custom GPT. And by the way, custom GPTs can be private. You don't It's not about sharing them. You don't have to share them with everybody publicly. You can privatize these for
but
yourself.
you can,
But
right?
you can also publicly share them. Yeah,
And which is great for client work because then you can create this incredible GPT for them and then send it to them, to use.
to let them be blown away. Yeah.
Then I suppose if they unclient themselves, they don't get that anymore. So just saying, right? It's one of those things. Um, yeah, just imagine putting your entire brand and everything that you know, have in your mission for whatever it is you're doing, and it knows all of that. And it doesn't matter if it's a PDF that's 100 pages long, right? You just upload it, and you can upload like 5 of those plus all of the custom instructions. The thing I like about it is I tell it how to interact with me, right? So I have that rebel personality, right, from PCM, from process communication model. So when I dip into GPT, it's like, "Yo, what's up?" "What are we doing today? Let's do something exciting." And then it always greets me with aloha, which I like that. So it's not just some blinking prompt. Yeah, I pretend that it actually knows who I am, but it is just AI, so it doesn't care.
The other thing we learned on custom GPTs was how to supercharge your custom GPTs with action. And that was something I did not know, that you could configure action with a GPT. Do you want to share about that?
Right, so custom actions, basically you can connect just about anything that's out there in the way of a program or internet if it has an API, right? You can connect those sorts of things and then just give it custom instructions as to how it should use that data. Um, and so catch it to your Gmail and have it, use your profile to answer your email.
I mean, so to supercharge your GPTs, to simplify that, I think you have to know the why. Why would you create a supercharged GPT? And that's what we're talking about. David's kind of given the technical details, but the reason why is because maybe you want to compile data. And some of the things that we learned was, again, if it's a repetitive task that's going to be run over and over, you can supercharge a GPT. For instance, there's a company using it that can take your blood labs, and they have a GPT set up to just read the blood labs, and then they take that data and then put it into a beautiful dashboard for you to see all the history of your blood labs. So or you could do receipts or bank statements, and you could do your employee time clocks. You could look, where are we losing time, where are we gaining time. It's just endless opportunities of how to supercharge GPTs. But the whole point was to set these things up so that you're controlling and getting the data that you want to make better decisions. I loved it. Yeah, it was pretty techy, but it was pretty good.
I don't know if it's reduced the amount of time I work, but the output is exponentially better. And, what can you say, right? We're embracing AI because that's where we're at. That's where the world is at. So I suggest you do it too.
Anyway, we wanna move on. Reminder that Embers Rising YouTube is live. You can check it out at Embers Rising Podcast on YouTube. My YouTube channel, Wendy Jae, it has a new mission. We are gonna be sharing all of our, docuseries, adventures on that channel. So we are doing some massive changes still on my channel. So things are coming off, but they're also moving over to the new Embers Rising YouTube channel. So check that out. Before we dive into today's episode, though, we just wanna take a moment to acknowledge you for pushing play. You could be anywhere in the world doing anything, but you chose to tune in and invest in yourself today. Maybe you saw the headline of this episode and that attracted you to creating a life manifesto. That's huge. So it's those little moments, those small decisions that start to shape your life. So thank you for being here, for showing up, and for taking the step towards designing a life that truly feels like your own.
What a great segue, and it's just a reminder that life doesn't necessarily happen to you, it happens for you. But you have to pre-program it just like AI. And so if you don't give yourself some custom instructions as to the direction that you're heading, then the output may be variable and it may be in a direction that you don't really necessarily want to go in. So life is like AI, right? You have to program in what you want out of it, or it just sort of happens.
We're excited to share more about this. We're going to share a secret here in just a minute, but I do have to take a pause and really acknowledge our community. And we have a couple of shout outs I want to share, and I'm just going to dive in. So,
Okay, do it. Uh,
um,
I
I
don't have the screen, so
I have the
I'm gonna
screen.
I'm gonna hear them for the first time.
So we created a post called "We Rise by Lifting Others," and I do not have this gentleman's name, but he did leave me a comment back that said, "Lifting others as we climb creates real impact and makes the journey worthwhile." So, yeah, absolutely. I think by any time that you are doing something, where you're fueling your flame, you wanna fuel others too. That's why we're here with Embers Rising. We're fueling our flame, but you're part of that flame, and we are fueling it with you. So, yeah, and then we had another, this is also on LinkedIn, and I just didn't get the names here, so I'm so sorry. I think this is Victoria, and I don't know how to say her last name. She says, "Love this. When we achieve success, we should not forget to support others in the journey." Exactly, same thing. And then another one here, same thing, beautifully said. It's on the same post. Beautifully said, "True growth and success are found when we rise together, lifting each other higher along the way." So, yeah, super great. And then over on Instagram, I made a post about eating healthy. Dave and I really do a lot of focus on our health and food at home. We have noticed that we've tried to take pictures of food to share it with y'all, and it just really hasn't worked out. But we try to make an effort. But I did make a post of kind of some simple meals. And thank you, Linda Shane. Maybe it's Shine. Totally agree. Love mixing spices with my meals too. And then Jessie Be Social. Hey Jess, what's up? She says this inspires me to make more protein bowl meals. Yeah. Dave, you're on the same thing right now. You've been on a journey to kind of change up your little lunch plan.
Well, after hearing the podcast with Eddie, I just I have to think about what I'm putting in my body. So as much as I would like more donuts, I just need to do less donuts or sandwiches or those sorts of things. So I eat pretty clean, but it's easy to be busy and so busy that you want convenient food. And convenient food isn't necessarily bad, but oftentimes it is. So I'm changing it up a little bit, especially as we're moving into the fall here.
So Dave's shifting from sandwiches and chips to more protein bowls. So let's see how his journey goes with that. I'm excited to see what that happens with that.
I need my carbs.
There was a Instagram again. I We had a podcast, that was talking about really working together and having clear communication together as a partnership. And Uprooted Traveler says this is such a good message. Honestly, miscommunication causes so many issues across the board from personal relationships to businesses. We couldn't agree more because we've all experienced that. Proactive Marketing says, yeah, clarity sets the right tone and keeps everything flowing smoothly. It's just hard to have clarity when you're in business together. Sometimes things get foggy and sometimes it's hard to pick up the phone, and have another conversation about what's going on, as we know.
You know,
Um,
it's a beautiful mess.
it can be a beautiful mess, so you gotta stay on top of that. There was another post I did, switching gears out of that to my trail, like, everything I would bring on maybe a long run, where I show my hydration vest, my, running shoes, my clip-on light, and et cetera. So, uh, Red, White Adventures. Oh, cool. Red, White Adventure. I like that. Love your handle. I'd love to get into trail running. Seems hard, but super fun. All right. Yeah. That's great. Someone had just messaged me, and I don't think I pulled it up today, but they had messaged me why I started trail running. So I'm making a post about why I started trail running, and I think they said that they hike, but they also just do running, and they're trying to figure out how to combine the two more comfortably. And that can be tricky when you're just starting out and you're comfortable just with hiking, but you're also comfortable with like running a road and not being out on the trails. So there's a lot more focus, and it's I always say it's good to start on a gravel road or dirt road or fire road, something that is wide and gives you a lot of room to kind of just start the process and then start moving into single track.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reason to move from the road to the trail, and I boil it down to one word. That word is snacks, right? You get a lot of snacks when you're out there. So, yeah, you're just tripping around in the woods, having a good time, eating snacks. I mean, what could be
What could
better
be
than
better
that?
than that?
Yeah,
That's why we do it.
in the sunshine or the snow or the rain.
Last one, because I want to dive into this awesome episode, David, is you had a post that cycled on my channel from a previous podcast episode that we did about most people are stuck, replaying the past, letting go of old patterns and dictating the next 24 hours. And Joel Norton from, I believe, I want to say this could be Facebook, says this is a valuable take on living intentionally and not staying stuck in the past. Thanks for bringing it to the light. Thank you, Joel. Um, Ex agency CEO. And then Amen Aslan says mostly it's because they've some fears. It's hard to see bigger picture if you're not willing to take risks. Yeah, for sure.
You're just one decision away from a completely different life, right? And so the the risks are relatively low unless you're betting your entire fortune, right, on the one thing. But if it's just making a decision, trying something new, showing up in a different way, right, the risks are very little. It just seems like a lot. So make that decision.
And last one, Robin Amy from LinkedIn, product and business development leader, scaling growth in digital, says, your perspective resonates deeply, David. It's like a sports team stuck in old plays. Without a fresh playbook, they'll never score. Let's embrace change and forge ahead. Robin, thank you for that. Yeah,
I'm stealing that one. You'll see that posted into another social media post.
that is rock solid. All right. Well, I'm going to officially welcome you to Embers Rising, where we get real and talk about taking control of your life. Today, we're diving in how to stop letting the world ruin or run your day and start making the life your own, making your life your own. So, we're going to break down what a life manifesto is and how David and I use it to stay focused on our goals every year. It's time to stop reacting and start building the life you actually want. So, let's get into it. All right, we're talking about creating a life manifesto now. I want to talk to you first of all, David, where this came up on our radar about maybe 6, 7 years ago. 6 years ago?
I mean, it came in from a lot of different sources, and this isn't something like totally brand new, right? I had a sales mentor a long, long time ago before I met you that used to talk about a version of envisioning, right, the outcome. And we're both athletes and came up in that space where, athletes would spend time envisioning the course. I was a skier, right? And so we'd envision the course at the top before we would bolt out of the starting gate, but it really came into focus through, and I hope this is where we're headed, Mindvalley, right? And Mindvalley, sort of talked, not sort of, did talk about this in a bigger way, but not only talked about it, they gave you some tools that you could actually start to, engage, right? To actively do this as opposed to just writing a notebook and putting it aside and never seeing it again.
There's 2 incredible teachers that, we met through this course named John and Missy Butcher, and we were attracted to this program from the get-go because it started out talking about all these 13 different categories of life, everything from health to finances to money to relationships to success, and we were like, "Man, what if we could find some way to balance, and create our vision for each of those 13 categories, and even our personal relationship?" So the program we wanna tell you about is called Lifebook. What is Lifebook? And why is it a power tool for personal development? John and Missy Butcher, we're starting another program with Mindvalley this year to bring on more students to the Lifebook mastery. And in summary, Lifebook is not just another personal development course. You are actually learning how to create now, where they're at today, a 2.5 page manifesto that you can actually read and have with you, and you're very clear about where you're going. Because we just talked about at the beginning of this episode, are you waking up and letting your phone or your schedule dictate your life or your job? And Lifebook is about personalizing it. It's a personalized tool that helps you personalize how you want to help design the life that you want to take control of by aligning your Wi-Fi signal out to the world to reflect back your vision, your goals, your habits, your actions. It's really like a structured blueprint, where you define what you truly want in all areas of your life, such as what I just said, health, career, relationships, personal growth. And this creates a very clear, intentional path to achieving that. So by reflecting and refining your life manifesto every year, you can stay focused on your long-term vision while taking those daily steps to make action and what you've envisioned. Otherwise, you're living from a space and light of waking up and letting life dictate you.
Absolutely. So, for all of us, life is like all of these elements and it's thrown into a jar and then it's shaken up, right? And when you're trying to work on something, it's like you're trying to work on everything, right? And you just can't do that. So with Lifebook, it allows you to reach into that jar and pull out one thing, right? Like parenting or like spirituality, right? And examine it in a way that is very non-judgmental. They don't tell you what your outcome should be. You're allowed to develop how you want to view it, what your outcome should be. And it also lets you rate yourself, right? Where are you in, on a scale of like 1 to 10 for this one individual thing? And you start to find out where you need to push a little bit harder to develop. And it also helps you realize, how great you are doing in some other areas of your life. And the thing that it really talks about is we're never 100% in all areas of our life, right? And it changes over time depending on what you're doing, right? Like if you have kids, all of a sudden, the day your child's born, that becomes something that's incredibly important and you need to focus on. And maybe your health falls away, right? And a couple years later, you've got a 3-year-old baby and extra 20 pounds in your
That you
belly,
didn't
so
expect.
that you didn't
You're like,
expect.
"Whoa, wasn't sure
And,
this good."
so so for me, it was very tactical, and I was able to understand it, and if someone had said, "We're gonna work on manifesting," I would have been like, "All right, like, woo woo, here we go." But the way it was presented, it's just like working on your business or anything else in life, right? Like, you gotta work on it one piece at a time.
I just wanna put a plug out. If you are already a life booker and you, have been there, done that, they have a new version of the way that they're presenting Lifebook today that, still walks you through those categories, but in a little bit more compact way. They're gonna take you through about 5 different sections of visualization, your vision, your goals, your habits, your action, and then execution. They also now have, like, a virtual, like a G-doc that you can fill out that makes it a lot easier. Before, we were handed, like, PDFs, and we were kind of on our own to write out these big, long, manifestos on every category, so it was a little bit felt like and daunting, and then trying to piece that all together. What didn't work back then was, I think what still hadn't worked for us today was taking, 42 pages of each of our summaries and trying to make that our vision. Today, Dave and I are flipping our own script and using this new kind of way that they're presenting this in at Mindvalley with Lifebook. So we're not affiliated with Lifebook, like this is an affiliate, but we are highly, this is a great time to think about 2025. And most people don't think about 2025 until December or even January 1st. But now is the time to be thinking about what do you want to get out of next year already. And I think when you can start the first process is your vision, and the importance of having a clear life vision is incredibly essential. In fact, I have some questions I was just gonna throw out there, Dave, on the vision section that I was listening to John and Missy and, Vishen talk about, last week when they were, pitching, actually, Lifebook Mastery Out There about these 4 essential questions to assess your vision. When you ask yourself, "Am I asking enough of myself? Is my vision achievable? Am I willing to pay the price to achieve it? And will it truly make me happy?" And I think just thinking about those questions alone, helps you refine and adjust your vision. Y you know, if you answer no to any of those questions, you need to think about why, and you need to adjust your vision.
And applying it to each one of the categories in your life book, right? Like, it's not just big picture because that doesn't help you move the needle if you don't identify where the no's are coming up for you.
I absolutely, and, Dave and I are personal, power couple coaches, and this is huge for a power couple. Your I is your we. And when Dave and I sit down this weekend, we're going to share with you our life manifesto. We're going to share what we have created ourselves in our 2.5 pages, and we'll share it with you because as a couple, we want to be on in the same page. You want to be going the same direction. So I think number 1 is you have to have a vision, and I'm just sharing you very briefly how they walk you through it, but we are gonna, take ourselves through it again this year so we can share it with you because we didn't do that last year with everybody, and we wanna do it this year to even make it more extraordinary. And I think when we share your vision, we can all support each other, right? Because maybe you can help us here or there, or we can help you here and there. So we would love to know or see if you wanna share or you feel like sharing, your vision with us, your life book, and you end up, going to life book, or you are a past life booker and you are updating your version of life, man, share it with us because we definitely want to support you out there. You never know where our paths will cross, right?
And what's funny is you can take your own personal manifesto or both of our manifestos, and you could actually load it into GPT. And, that sounds sort of weird, but the fact of the matter is, if you're starting to bounce questions against GPT and it has your declaration of where you're headed, it can sort of gauge like, "Hey, you may be off course." It can also help you if you haven't written your Christmas card and it's Christmas Eve. You're like, write Wendy an incredible card and be like, "Oh, this is my personal manifesto. How did you write this card?" So, now I'm not gonna say that's gonna
You're taking it to
happen,
the
but
next level. I love
yeah.
that. I love that.
I imagine I'm gonna get probably a lot of, boos for that one.
Yeah, I know. We should put a sound effect on here that says, "Boo, Dave." Okay. Yeah, but there's also some really cool things that probably GPT could help us out with in this. I know we'll work on that together this weekend. So, anyway, number 2 of creating your life manifesto, they're going to walk you through your goals, and this is all about defining foundational goals that really align with your life vision. And I know that they talk about the SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, rewarding, time bound goals. Think about that. Specific, measurable, attainable, rewarding, time bound. It's all about where you're putting your time and energy and creating goals that move you and align you with your long term vision. There's so many things I think about that a lot of us get caught up with in life or in a life event happens to you and it throws you off for the whole rest of your life. You had a dream to do something 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you just gave up on it. But you know what? You can still attack that dream. I'm attacking an old dream of mine right now that I could have gone 4 years ago, but, there was a lot of health things that I had to battle. The thing of it is, it's you have to get away from the buts, like I just said, and just start making it a goal and start taking the action and start executing and putting your time towards what you want. That's important.
For sure. I like Jesse Isler's take on this too, and he's like, "F the smart goals, go for the stupid goals," right? Like
Oh,
the big,
definitely.
dumb, ridiculous, unattainable, but what if you actually could do it? And the thing is, once you put it down, the universe starts, sort of delivering
Magically aligning.
things, yeah, like, "Oh, there's an opportunity, and there's another opportunity, and there's the piece that I needed," right? So, think big.
Think
Like,
big.
think crazy big, BHAGs, big hairy ass goals.
I'm working with a friend right now who is rebuilding himself, and he has a lot of goals that he wants to do, and I think they're all absolutely incredible. But you do not want to shift a million different times and be fuzzy about all the little things. I want this, I want that, I want that. You really need to be consistent and hyper clear on the direction that you want to go, because it's not about I want this, I want that, I want this, and then you have it, then what's the next thing? You have to think of the big picture, your health, your relationships, your lifestyle, your investments, your money, your children, your family, all of that is big. And I think you have to think outside of just the current I want. I want 50,000 followers. I want 500 million subscribers on whatever. You got to think beyond that.
Yeah, why?
So now that
Why
you
do you
have it,
want
what's
that,
the
right?
next thing,
Yeah.
you know? So goals is a huge one, that they talk about in Lifebook. The third one is habits, and the relationship between goals and habits, that how habits are the one thing that shapes your life and the principle of a goal habit synergy. Because choosing your sacred choices, like daily habits that support your vision and goals, is something you have to have to get from here to here. So, like David, he has a sacred choice to be an ultra runner. He's putting the time and energy into it. So, he went out today and did his run. He knows that he has to put the work in as a sacred choice to be that runner. You know that if we're doing UTMB, or if we're doing one of the bigger runs, if we're doing rim to rim to rim, 44 miles, we've got to put the work in. You have to make a sacred choice to put the time and energy into it.
Yeah, and habits is the word, right? And so you I saw
Absolutely.
you looking at me, looking at my phone, and it's because I wrote something while I was running today about habits, and habits have momentum, right? Like, if you repeat the action over and over and over again, they have a certain velocity, a certain momentum that they gain behind you. And as I was running today, I was thinking, I couldn't do this 7 or 8 months ago. Literally, I could not do
Yeah.
it, right? I'm just out for a 5-mile run, no big deal. It's my you know, morning thing now, but 8 months ago, no way.
No way. Yeah, I actually printed out something from, John and Missy's life book that talks about the habits, and one of their quotes was, "Your life will be shaped by your habits, so choose them wisely." I just wanna repeat that again. Your life will be shaped by your habits, so choose them wisely. So if you are eating junk food every day, your life is shaped by that. If you are making bad choices that is not contributing to your goals, your clarity of life, choose them wisely. A goal is something you want and are willing to work towards. A habit is an automatic pattern of behavior, um, acquired through frequent repetition. So there's a principle of the habit behavior, like your habits shape your life and define you as a human being, and you are what you continuously do. The principle of the goal habit synergy, and I was just reading this from them, when you consciously choose the highest leverage of goals and the highest leverage habits and direct them towards a common objective, you get the most powerful possible combination of human behavior. Success.
Love it.
The feedback loop. Goal setting is the key to creating great habits, and great habits are the key to accomplishing your goals. So, some of the things that they share, some supporting habits to consider is you want to wake up and feel grateful. You want to count your blessings. You want to wake up at a certain time every morning. You want to get a certain many hours of sleep. You wanna make the bed, you wanna stretch for a certain amount of time, you wanna exercise for a certain amount of time, you wanna do yoga, you wanna do conscious breathing or massage or energy work or learning or study time, prayer, spend time in nature, get some sunlight, drink, your 8 glasses of water a day, read morning affirmations, you wanna follow a certain diet plan. There's also some negative habits you wanna consider, and I wanna just put those in your mind of saying to yourself, "I don't have any negative habits." But you have to look back at yourself at a different version and say, "Here are some things to consider that you might want to eliminate," like complaining or less hours of screen time on your phone or not making excuses or not checking your email in front of your partner while you're sitting at dinner or no alcohol for a certain amount of time, breaking a specific bad habit that you know of, no sugar treats, spending less time on TV, not staying up past a certain time. Those are habits you may consider eliminating because you really wanna focus on what's gonna get you to the goal.
And the reason it's so important, right? Habits, once you push on having something in your life and it becomes a habit, it becomes very, very easy to execute on, right? And so, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, either way, it's going to be able to show up in your life much easier once you do it, right? And you look at things like emotions. Emotions at their core, a lot of them are learned habits, right? And so if you have the habit of being upset, then you can get upset much easier than it even seems reasonable, right? You're like, what is that person upset about? But then you look at the patterns of their life and you're like, well, they're upset often enough that it just is a trigger, right? And that pathway happens, it comes out, they're upset, and it can it can take a lot of work to undo those sorts of habits, just like smoking or drugs or anything else that is like the classic bad habit.
If you're starting to feel overwhelmed with all the habits that we just talked about, start small and take one at a time because we were just talking about the small steps every day make a big difference. So, Dave's talking about like a personality trait, and that's pretty heavy to make conscious change in that. So, start small and make a sacred choice to support your daily habit. If you're going to have a green juice every day, set yourself up for success to make those changes. So we've got to move on, Dave. We've got to move on because we could spend a lot of time on habits, but
We could. I'll just say, we're going into this time where the election is coming out and everybody's
yes,
so triggered, right, about this or that. Whatever you believe in, cool. But you're going to carry that through the end of this election. And if you think there's going to be some sort of result at the end where you're not going to be triggered anymore, you've taught yourself to become that person. And you'll just reassign what triggers you to something else. And,
get caught in the loop.
at the end of your life, you'll be like, I spent an hour a day being frustrated about this thing, right? And at the end of a year, if you spend an hour a day doing something, if you do the math, that's like 9 40-hour work weeks of being able to focus on something else. That's the time you spent. Imagine what you could do for your life, right? If you had 9 40-hour work weeks uninterrupted to work on yourself or your new business or your family, whatever it is. So when you start to look at the collateral damage, the amount of time it takes away from you, the amount of happiness it takes away from you, it's monumental. And that's where most people are at.
Taking control of your days by aligning your daily actions with your life vision. That is so important. So if you want to be something, if you want to do something, you have to align yourself with those things. You have to take action to make it happen. And it has to be consistent, not just a 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 3 months. John and Missy Butcher talk about it took them 5 years to make one vision happen. And they wrote their manifesto when they didn't have those things. So you write this manifesto like we'll do this weekend, and you'll write it in a way that is your future self. You'll write it to yourself as your future self. And the importance of prioritizing these higher higher visions and goals and habits is now you're attracting it again, like I said, through the Wi-Fi signal, right? You're sending it out to the universe. You're sending it out to whoever you believe in. You're reprogramming who you are to attract the life that you deserve, that you want.
And you said something interesting, and, sorry for interrupting you
No, it's
here,
okay.
but you said we're gonna work on it again this weekend, and as a listener, right, like, I thought you guys have been doing this for years. Why would you sit down and do it again, right? And we do this every year. It usually happens around the holiday times. We're gonna do it earlier because 'cause we're go-getters, but why do it, why update, your life vision for
I
yourself?
almost say last year we did it around this time too, Dave. We created a vision board on my personal YouTube channel. You'll see a vision board that we created. I think it was designing your own life by visual pictures. But I think you're asking why do we do it this time of year?
Yeah, no, just why update it, right? Because most people are like, "Hey, I did it once, check, done. I get to move on."
Our dreams and goals change, and I think your life vision changes, and life just changes with you. And so I think going out and making updates to your life book, it's a constant work in progress. So a lot of the influencers and leaders that are out there today, the incredible visionaries that are leading a lot of us in our life and personal development, are all meeting this week on Necker Island to actually update their life book, and that is so incredible to me. And I think at the same time, I want to be that person. I wish I was on Necker Island, just making relationships happen with those incredible people and building my life book again. But you can do it from home, and you can do it together as a couple,
And I hear Richard Branson actually does his on a napkin.
probably.
Right, he
Yeah,
he
everybody's
writes
got their own
he
thing.
writes down, like, the 9 things that, he wants to have happen for the year, the big things,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And, and then he goes about and for us, we always think how, right? We look at the 9 things and we're like, "How are we gonna do it?" And he goes about looking at it a little bit differently. He looks at it as who. Okay, now I have this thing that I want to do. Who do I get to be in the position to start to move
Move
here?
that. Yeah.
Take my idea and bring it into reality.
We all don't have that convenience, but um, it's a work in progress if you want to get there.
At its core, that's what power is,
Oh,
right? And
absolutely.
power is taking thoughts and turning them into existence. And I think that's incredible. And we each have that power within us. Um, but it's not just writing down what you want to have happen for your life. You then have to take the actions.
Hey, I'm gonna like reverse what Dave just said because he said it's not about just writing down what you want. You need to also create a stop do list to eliminate the distractions that are already claiming your life right now. So if you are doing stuff that's driving you crazy or driving your partner crazy or you're not happy about, write them down because that is taking your time and energy away from your vision.
Right? We all think about the things to do list.
Right.
There actually is a things not to do list for
Stop
each of us
doing this.
individually.
Yeah.
And that is maybe a way more powerful list than your to do list. So if you pick up your phone every 10 minutes to look at your text messages or email or social media,
You're reacting.
maybe that
Yeah.
goes on the don't do list, right?
Yeah. You
And
set a time for that.
um, it's like email, right? You don't need to check your email when it comes in, have that ding sound go off. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Developing an action plan for your monthly goals is super important, and this is part of Lifebook, is developing your action plans, creating the stop doing list, creating your go-to list, and making it happen. So that's just important to keep you on track. Um, 2 more I've got to get through, Dave. Section 5, execution and progress tracking. Now, execution goes along with action, right? So if you have your action set up correct, and you're going to work on those, execution is just important. And the reason why you want to have execution is why track and measure your progress. Why track and measure your progress? Why is that important?
You know, you can't improve that which you don't measure.
I was gonna say, that's like
And
your favorite saying.
it is one of my favorite sayings, but, it's just like running, right? Like, you'll never have any idea what your pace is if you don't track it, and then you can take actions to improve it, and you see the results, right? For me, I went from running like a 16-minute mile pace to down to 11, right? And I have my goal, right? Like, I need to get to 9. That's where I wanna get before I re up my algorithm, And yeah, for those of you listening out there, just a reminder, I started running this year, so don't turn off the podcast like 9-minute
Leave
mile.
some comments for
Who am I
David below
who am
about
I
this.
listening to? This guy's barely crawling.
I think it's important to, when we're talking about progress tracking, is quarterly review and assess your goals and your habits and your personal development. Where are you at in this manifesto of yours? Um, the value of consistent self-reflection and course correction is huge, because there's a lot of things that come into life that can throw you off course. You need to reassess, review constantly this life manifesto and kind of correct as things. And yourself, and how you measure your results keeps you motivated and also on track towards achieving your vision. So Dave's stoked that he's reviewed his goals on Strava and say, hey, my pace has changed. So I'm motivated and I'm tracking towards achieving my vision of getting this, faster pace. Kudos to you, Dave. You should go follow David Tucker out there on Strava and give him some kudos. Is that your name on Strava?
Yeah, it is, and that's the only reason I actually run
It's because of Strava.
is because of
You need
Strava
you need kudos.
and those same 7 people who I've never met before, and I'm not quite
Keep
sure
giving you
in
kudos.
Europe and Asia where they are, but they give me kudos every time. So I'm like, "Nice, I like it."
So I think it's just something that's important to walk yourself through is execution and progress tracking. And lastly is your success. To set yourself up for success, the way that they teach you in Lifebook and that we will do is to create a personal touch for your manifesto. What do I mean by that? Adding anything that's like a quote, affirmation, incantation, mantra, photos, anything that helps make your Lifebook more engaging is going to be more eye pleasing to you. Whether you want to draw on it, make pictures, color on it, however creative you want to be. It just sets yourself up for more success. So adding personal touch is important. Creating a daily or weekly habit of reviewing your life book daily is best. John Butcher and Missy Butcher. John talks about his daily cup of coffee and reading. He's read his mission, create his life manifesto like 500 for 500 days. I think he said he read that thing every day. He just read it over and over and over and over and over, reprogram his mind. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. So I think it's just important to enjoy the journey, get down what you want in your manifesto, know that it's not just a destination, and you'll change it the following year. This is why Dave and I are already thinking about 2025. What do we want to call in? Uh, Everything that I guess what I want to say is Lifebook provides a very clear and structured guide for you to create your own personal masterpiece for your growth and life vision. And it is so different than just going through a personal development course. John and Missy Butcher are experts at taking you through this and going through their program. I don't know, Dave, if it's already closed out because it just opened last week, but it just reminded me to talk about it with everybody because it is so important to have a clear vision of what you want, whether it's the next big race, maybe it's getting your pro athlete card, maybe it's doing 100, 200, 240, Moab 240, whatever your goal is out there. Let's get it down and support each other. I'm totally stoked to do that this weekend. And it's also one of those things that you feel like, oh, it's so daunting. I don't have time. There is a way to make it happen. And I feel like if you can take the time, I think what they do is, just so you know, in their program, it is a 4-day intensive, but it is so well worth it because you're talking about the rest of your life. So 4 days to the rest of your life is absolutely worth it, and I believe there's also an option to actually go to a resort if you wanted to, like, do an upgrade to meet everybody at a resort and kind of do a little more intensive.
Which I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it allows you to dream, it allows you to write down your dreams, and then it allows you to lean in and ask the most important question, and that is, no bullshit, what would it take, right? So if your goal is, "Hey, I wanna do Moab 240," for example, that sounds great. Except no bullshit, what would it actually take? And so you can start to backward engineer, well, if I'm gonna run 240, I've gotta be able to run 100, and if I'm gonna run 100, then I'm gonna have to be able to write all of those things down the list. Because if you just write down the outcomes that you want and don't ask that final question, there's no way, right? You just can't achieve the thing that doesn't have the actions, the stair steps to get to it. And then, on those stair steps, just know you're gonna fall off multiple times, right? And that's the process, and that's why you sit down and redo this. You're like, "All right, this is what I said I wanted, and this is what I did to get there." And, I know there'll be some incredible things when we sit down this weekend, like, one of the things we wanted was this podcast, right? And
Yeah.
here
It's a
we are,
dream to have this
just
podcast.
bumbling our way through it, but we figured it out, we're taking the steps, and here we are. There'll also be some other things that we look at and we're like, "Did we apply ourselves?" And, we're blessed with, I call it the divine discontent, right? We always want more than we actually accomplish, but it's not time to be unhappy about what you didn't accomplish or what you didn't take steps toward. It's just a refocusing of, "Okay, if this is still in alignment with where I want to be in my life, then what do I actually need to do? Who do I need to become?" And by the inch, it's a cinch, right? You'll get there.
And I'm just gonna say something to make it a little easier to inspire you and motivate you is choose your hero. Find someone that you totally admire, that you absolutely love, that's doing the thing that you wanna do. Whether it's playing music, an artist, an athlete, an actor, choose your hero because I think positioning yourself when you can connect with that hero in your head starts the programming. Do you believe that, Dave? I truly have always wanted to be part of Mindvalley, and I love their programs. We've been with them since, oh my gosh, 2000, maybe 13,
Something like
something
that.
like
Yeah,
that. It's been a
it's been a
long
big part
time.
of our growth for
Yeah,
sure.
so we use them a lot, and I just think about choosing my heroes, choosing the heroes that fuels the flame inside. So I think we've got to wrap this up, Dave. One thing I want to say is thank you for being here. That was kind of a lot. We just wanted to walk you through the Lifebook Mastery Program. If you want to get more information about Lifebook, I'll leave a link below to go check it out through Mindvalley to learn more. For future episodes or adventures, please DM us. We would love to hear from you as Dave and I are working on our 2025 goals and dreams and where we're going to be. And hey, come run with us. If you are here in Idaho at the moment, come run with us. We would love to see you out there on the trail.
Or if you want a random 50K, look up the Sasquatch Shuffle in
Yes.
McCall, Idaho
McCall,
at the
Idaho,
end
the
of
Sasquatch.
October and sign up for that thing
We'd love to see you there.
and show up and you'll be ahead of me the whole time.
We would love it. We love it, love it. A couple new things, if not couple new things, but a couple of things. We are a new podcast still, and we would really appreciate your rating us on Spotify. And if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts, we would absolutely love that. We will see those. Follow us on social media. Watch for updates on wendyjae.com for any of our programs coming up, like the Speak to Connect program that we've been talking about. And I'm going to wrap this up, Dave. Any last words?
No, I think we've said it all. So
All right. Well, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that taking control of your life isn't about making massive changes overnight. It's about those small, intentional steps you take every day. And building your life book, creating and designing your life manifesto is just the beginning. But hey, it's a powerful tool to keep you aligned with your goals and your life that you're meant to live. Dave and I are super grateful that you've chosen to be here with us on Embers Rising, and we absolutely love you and are just so excited to support you in your journey. So keep fueling the flame inside you. Stay committed to your vision, and remember, your life is yours to design. So until next time, keep choosing to rise. Aloha.
aloha.